Welcome all. This is Meten from Plutonic Planes, and today I'm doing a video with Anna-Thea. She's from. Go ahead, Anna, and introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, my name's Anna-Thea, and I'm an evolutionary astrologer and a divine feminine educator. And Maten and I have done a video before, and we really enjoy contemplating the current astrological influences. So we really just want to share it all with you.
Today we're going to go over what many astrologers across the digital cosways are calling the Barbault Basket, but Anna and I have renamed it, or I should say, I have renamed it to July's Maelstrom, and I'm very proud of my new title. And the moon is in Scorpio, 6 degrees as we do this.
Wow.
So we better be nice to each other because, females
I
and
know.
males during moon and Scorpio, not so good.
It's on my ascendant, and that means it's on my ascendant.
It's on my descendant. Okay, so let's start with the chart. Which chart should we start with? Should we do a general first? Let's just start with the chart for those that are want to learn the charts. Okay, so this is the chart. Don't let the overly complex Virgo nuances I've
Mm.
added distract you. I decided to add the trans-Neptunian planets, which you guys can ignore. The symbols are only going to be of the major 9 planets anyway. And I also added some asteroids. Can you see this well?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the chart for July 19th. This is the date that was given by, is his name Barbault?
Yeah, I guess that's how you pronounce it. Barbault, you know?
So this is the French astrologer named André Barbault, and he was discussing the 5 planets that will lock into a geometric pattern. And he was calling it a basket, as if we were skimming through the woods, like Redwood Riding Hood for a picnic or something, as if it's going to be this grand enlightenment of humanity, and everything was going to be very flow, like one might imagine the trines and sextiles of all these planets manifest. I don't know if I can purchase that and make a good investment on that, a good return on such a forecast. But Anna and I will go through it. And what the basket means, or was presented as by Barbault, if I'm understanding it correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, Anna,
Hmm.
is Saturn too, but Neptune mostly, Uranus, Jupiter, and Pluto. Where's Pluto hiding?
It's opposite. It's opposing.
Oh,
So
right there.
yeah, yeah, and I that's why I don't agree with the basket either. I like your whirlwind maelstrom, um, because it's flushing out the old and it's really, bringing in the new. So, um, sorry about that. Jeez. But it's Pluto. It's Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus. That's the basket. But even though you have all these asteroids, it looks like it's heavy over on the left, but it's really top heavy in your chart. That's where the basket is. And then the handle to the basket is Jupiter, but really it's not. It's the moon. So that's why I like your idea of the maelstrom instead. Because and remember when we talked last time, it was really Neptune is the pointer of this evolutionary force that's moving in exactitude on July 19th, prior to it and after it at 4 degrees with Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus. And the pointer is Neptune. So all of these outer planets are basically saying, I like to say it's an overwhelming evolutionary pressure that's being put on us, you know? It's a
I'd
very
love.
rare configuration to have them, but it's a slow one too. These planets do not move. This is not like the moon. they are going to stay there, but they're in exactitude. And the dates that they're in exactitude is July 7th through July 31st. Now, I didn't look further whether, whether they come out of that and go back in, but I know that that's when they're all three of those outer planets are at 4 degrees.
Is this like a peer pressure to utter us into some rave in the middle of the night where everything will flow into all these like weird games and drugs and
I
humanity
hope
will be
not. I hope
drugged
not. No,
and
I
then
hope.
wake up wake up in the underworld?
No, I
Oh.
feel like we are here on planet Earth or in this dimension in our evolutionary suits, and evolution is a slow process. But with these three planets, these outer planets, these transpersonal planets, we're in our evolutionary suits and we're being pressurized to move, to expand, from our own personal me, mine, my life, my misery, my relationships, my this, to a collective. We're all in this together, and one of the things when we were reading that article and looking at the image that it was creating was about, helping the lower echelon of the collective or of society elevating. Because what was it? What is the saying? We cannot rise any further than the lowest point. So we have to take the lowest point of anything and raise it. And then we raise the whole collective. We raise the consciousness of everybody. And I think that that's hopefully what is happening here.
So I heard you very clear, and thank you for sharing such. I want to kind of go back in time because I want to
Yeah.
touch on Andre a little because he was very interesting. And there's many other videos that are out talking about André Barbault's basket, and you guys can watch those if you want for background. We're skipping ahead a little, but I will note that he apparently did predict the Pluto Saturn conjunction that elicited the whole COVID-19 of 2020. And he died 3 months prior. And there was a contrast, I guess, he was making between the dark night of the soul of that 2020-21 and the present time period. Now, as I see it, the 2020-21 was like a dip in the waters of our most darkest nightmares as humanity. And because the result of the experiment of 2020 was to subject humanity to the trap of their own minds. In other words, making the natural world uncomfortable to be in.
Hmm.
The visible social world uncomfortable to connect in. The experiment was to induce humanity into a digital trance so that everything was related through screens, through blue screens, right? Through the radiation, through this invisible arcing terraformed web that they've created. Because that was the experiment, they dipped us into it and they pulled us out. And we said, okay, we're back. We're back in the real, at least our version of the real. And we can live our life again, at least as organic humans. But they never turned off the web. And instead, from that time period, they've been developing it to a point where it may be turned on in July. And so I see it a little differently. He was very hopeful, it sounded like, for this period, especially making that contrast with 2020. However, we're looking at this basket or this maelstrom as sextiles and trines from all the outer planets, right? Including
Hmm.
even Saturn and Jupiter. Saturn, which creates the boundary between the visible and invisible worlds. And Jupiter, which is the beneficent, which is almost a sun in itself, entering at a time period where it enters into Leo, which is the heart of humanity and also the heart of true leadership, the representation of leadership energy. And right after this occurs in July, we have the eclipses in August, which are always symbolic in mundane astrology of eclipsing of leaders, or the ending of leaders, or who we thought were leaders, or another way of saying it is the powers that were. And on July 19th, the moon will be in Libra, and we see that in this chart. And all the planets are there, all the outer planets are there speaking to each other. Now in mundane astrology, the moon represents the people. And so the moon, having just entered into Libra, is concerned with everybody else. It's humanity being concerned with each other. Okay, where are we right now? What just happened? Where did we just get transported to? What's going on here? And these are the questions that are going to come up in humanity as we look at this chart. We also see moon opposing Neptune. Neptune creates in its highest expression vision and mystical, breakthrough. And in its lowest frequency, it stands for delusion, unable to see behind the veil, only intuit what's behind the veil. And so humanity is very confused in this image here with that opposition. And that opposition, because that Neptune is connecting, the whole Maelstrom to Pluto by exact sextile, and that's over here, and then connecting to Uranus by exact sextile, and also relating to Jupiter, which is 4 degrees, which is in Leo now, so an exact trine. It seems that, as you had said before we got on, Neptune is, and even, incidentally, this chart that I created, and I just made up the time intuitively, and look at the chart. Neptune's on top of the chart in the 10th house on the midheaven.
Mm-hmm.
And this is 4:59 a.m. in the morning on July 19th, and this is a Washington D.C. chart because I'm just looking at it from the perspective of mundane astrology, so the United States. And there it is. Neptune's on the top of the chart. So that's the world stage. That is a murky, amorphous, fogged up presentation of reality. That's not reality. That's a surreality. We're not seeing what's happening. There are all kinds of, when you see Neptune, when you see the outer planets interacting, what we experience is not Saturnian reality. What we experience is edits in our spatial and temporal field of perception. What we experience is time dilation, time being expanded or time being reduced. What we experience is almost like an amnesic state, where something has happened and we've lost time. Like, what just happened? Like, I missed it, or what did they say, or how could it, it's a whole setup for a mass movie to play for humanity that doesn't make sense. And there's so many things happening, as you were saying on this particular day. You said it's supposed to be the World Cup, right? The final game of the final soccer game.
Right.
Right. And what is that? I mean, what's a soccer game? What are sports? Well, they're geometric configurations in themselves. All sporting events, all where they occur, are geometric shapes inducing energy from everywhere to focus on that center point.
Well, and the ball itself is like, I don't know if it's an octagon, hectagon. It's a geometric figure, the way they sew it together, with the different, right?
Well, even further than that, let's take it a step further. The soccer balls are no longer soccer balls. They're digital compositions of cameras inside the ball. So they can capture any image, the ball being kicked, where it gets kicked to. In fact, it's even, I think, electromagnetically set up so that the ball, when they kick the ball, it might not go in the direction they want it to.
What? Are
It
you
might
serious?
even, yeah, no, you could look this up. It might even be to the extent that it's a remote control ball that's being utilized. Because remember, this is not sports. This is entertainment. This is
Well, I
enter
think
into the
what it
attention.
could also be, like during the gladiator days or the big stadiums, it's collective energy focused in a way that some people are using it unbeknownst to the participants. That energy is being used consciously to accomplish either good or bad, you know?
Well, it's all feeding the players, of course, too.
Yes,
All the focus, all the geometric configuration centers all the energy in
right.
in the circles or squares, whatever it is, the field, with all the people around, focusing their energy there, amplifying and nuancing the efforts and the energy of the players. So it's a symbolic event focusing energy on some kind of world stage event. Now, could something happen during that event? It's possible, right? I guess you mentioned someone who predicted some kind of alien invasion.
Or terrorist thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and very well could be something to that extreme. I mean, if it's an alien invasion, will it be a real one? No, because it has to be controlled. So it'd be something like a Project Bluebeam or something likely, you
Can
know.
you explain what that is again? Because you mentioned that
Yeah,
earlier.
Project Bluebeam was something that was discovered by a researcher about 20 years ago, and who I think he's no longer alive. And it's it's the fact that they have enough back engineered holographic technology, and we certainly live in some type of holographic reality. I mean, the book, The Holographic Reality, made that very clear. And so it's the technology that can create the illusion of some kind of invasion, quote unquote, alien invasion, UFO invasion, something to that effect. So it's a show. It's a show they have the technology to put on, and put it over on the people, and for people to say, oh wow, oh, it's all true, just like the movie said, just like they said in the news, the disclosure, this, that, right? And it's all being set up for us with this recent Steven Spielberg film, Disclosure, that has come out. I don't have time to go watch that. And, but even more importantly, in August, just after this, I think they're doing a remake of or a movie of the Odyssey, of Homer's Odyssey.
Hmm.
Now that's fascinating because that's more modeling the hero's journey. And what's fascinating to me is that all this AI technology is an attempt to convince humanity that they don't need to have their hero's journey anymore. That instead of humanity having to fight the demons of themselves or of night or day, that AI will take care of it for them, and they don't have to do their journey. They don't have to do their circle, their process, their south node and north node journeys of destiny. It's reclaiming and attempting to redirect the fate of what it is to be human by creating this illusion of ease and excuse
R-
and
Right,
and the
right. And, and,
double will do
and
everything for you.
shortcuts, like our society has, alcohol down every corner. Just our whole lifestyle is built around checking out, like not numbing out, not feeling, not, just taking the easy way out. But what came up when you were talking about this, like the disillusionment or the ability to project what's happening in, let's say, an alien invasion. But the beauty of it, what I got was we got tested in 2020 with the reality, like seeing how much we could have something happen and it disempower us. And many people questioned it. And now this is like round two, but there's been multiple rounds really. But this is like another go round to see if they can pull the wood over our face. And so it's the disillusionment or it's the falsity, but it's almost like us then evolving and pulling the curtain back and seeing the real Oz. Am I making sense?
Yeah, keep going.
So it's a graduation, hopefully, that we won't be hoodwinked and that we will actually see beyond the illusion. And that's our own personal evolutionary process. Like not, oh, bowing down to the authorities and being, oh, okay, like stepping into fear because of whatever they may say, um, you know, the reality that they're portraying for us, that we're supposed to be in a state of fear, whatever it could be on July 19th or around that time. And that we literally then, as a species, the majority of us just don't buy into it. We don't buy into the illusion that was created. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love that. And so, if that's true, then the
Let's
question.
hope that that's true. Keep our
And
fingers crossed.
no, I mean, I think it cannot be anything but true because the level of intensity of what's going to be presented on the world stage will probably eclipse people's old minds, and they'll be kind of woken up into this new awareness, irregardless. Now, whether they can subsist with this new recognition and awareness, that's up to the individual. I mean, I'm sure some can go mad. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it
Well,
could
it
be
could
too
go
much,
the other way around too. It could
right?
be literally the people that are putting on the show, the illusionary show, are realizing they can't get away with it like they used to.
There's no one that can get away with anything anymore. I mean, the ball is truly being set up so that no one's in control or perceivably in control. Even the controllers are no longer in control.
Yeah, that exactly.
But I think that in itself is a chaotic realization as well. That's even a realization for those of us who have gotten used to calling it the powers that be, now have to rephrase it as the powers that were. Because there are other forces that are redirecting the destiny of humanity. I mean, it's always seemed like there's competing forces attempting to direct the fate of humanity. And that has come to us in many different metaphors and ways by spiritual leaders like Steiner. Steiner said it was a battle between the Luciferian forces and the Ahrimanic forces. The Ahrimanic forces being the more robotic and the Luciferian forces being more lust-driven.
Hmm.
And and then of course the spiritual impulse of man himself apart from the two. So like a triad. And so it's like a tug of war in a way. But there's a deeper level of this that I mean, there's just so much here. There's so much layered here. But what you brought up, Anna, was, because what I brought up was that it's going to be a big show. And then you said, but we're going to realize it's a show. And then so the next level of it is it too late? In other words, are we just passive observers of one show following another show? And the reason why I say that, because sextiles and trines are like slides in a playground. Once you get on the slide, once the sextile and trine hits, the energy flows. So we all talk as astrologers about how, oh, trines are easy, sextiles are, if you're aware of them, you can initiate them. But you can't stop them, right? Whereas with squares and oppositions and conjunctions, conjunction is a force that builds relative to the planets, because those are two planets together becoming one. So that's a whole nother thing. And then oppositions are someone gets in your way, right? So there's a fight, there's a battle, or there's an agreement, or there's a counter argument. There's four doors of transaction, or that. So it's a slow process. The same with the square. The square is an inner tension that's trying to get resolved. But when it's a sextile or trine, the energy is just automatic. All you can do is watch it happen if you
I
can
love that.
sustain
Yeah,
the
yeah.
observation. So the scary part here in this month is that whatever we're setting into motion right now in our individual lives as well as our collective lives, whatever we're working on right now, as I've talked to everyone on my channel and said, there's this happening, there's that happening, but just go back to your Aries Vortex vision. What's your vision? What are you creating? What's your Neptunian vision? And I say that because your Aries vision is going to be charged and released at this point. Everything that's been being charged from the Aries Vortex is going to be turned on on this day, July 19th. And that's what's occurring. Your own personal Aries Vortex vision is going to be put online.
So explain that to people so they know. That's where Neptune and Saturn came together on February the 20th at 0 degrees Aries.
That's correct.
And where specifically is that in your chart? It's the very beginning of the zodiac, 0 degrees Aries. So you'd have to know where exactly that is. It's so funny because where it is in my chart is in the fifth house, which the fifth house is the house of, Leo and the house of purpose and even children and I have felt you and I talked about this, and I have felt a little bit like lost, like what's the use, It's I don't want to like it's like climbing Mount Everest since 2020, People aren't going to change and
But it feels like that too. It feels like we're in like a molasses state because Saturn was,
right.
and so it's not till Saturn leaves Aries that the vortex will be clear and the vision will be clear to go forward,
Yeah.
relative to other planet interactions.
So
So
what I feel like mostly the biggest thing that I can do right now is just hold a space of how do I put it? That because I'm always a person that's kind of active, doing things and wanting to improve, North Node, Virgo, wanting to make things better. Pluto there too, through transformation, powerful transformation. And so I'm actively holding a space of higher frequency. That's what my job I feel is right now, is just holding that space of, almost like I call it the laundry. What is it called? The laundry service for humanity, the laundry service for humanity, taking in like this collective energy of this like a vortex, kind of like the Maelstrom, just taking in all of this collective energy and just clearing it. I literally, it's so weird because my sister has some aches and pains in her lower in her butt, and I feel like I'm clearing that. My friend has a knee thing. I'm have a knee thing that is clearing. My other girlfriend has a whole foot thing going on, and I have pain in my foot. So I don't know for sure, but I literally, because nothing has made me have these like weird aches and pains, and I feel like I'm clearing that energy, not just for myself but collectively. Now that's me. That's who I am. And maybe that's how these forces are actually working through me right now.
well, we all have collective open centers through the human design, so we're all collectively
Yeah.
processing to some degree. So you asked me to define the Aries vortex, so I was going to further define it by saying it's the Aries vortex vision we've all created, and once Saturn moves away, it'll be clear. But right now, the Aries vortex, since last year, has been being charged at different nodal points. And these are activations that have been coming to further that vision. Even though it's a slow molasses kind of waiting, in a pool of just, it's just, just moving so slow. And it's affecting people, as you said, as we were talking before we got on, it's affecting people that have planets in 0 to 10 degrees of Aquarius, Leo,
And Leo, Gemini, and Aries.
Aries, and Gemini. Yeah. Those are the main. And so if you have planets in those between 0 and 10 degrees, this is impacting, this is charging you. You're being charged the most at this point, the most impactfully. And then we created a schemata, through the AI stuff. But before I go to that, I just want to give you guys a quick peek of what I did here, just because I think it's a little fun. Is I added the trans-Neptunian planets to add further nuance. And so we have Uranus here conjunct Admetos, which is a trans-Neptunian planet by 1 degree. So maybe in another video I'll kind of go into that, what that means. And then look at this. The ascendant is 13 degrees here and Hades is 15 degrees. Fascinating. And then Kronos is right there next to it. Kronos is a powerful Saturnian god. And that's right there in Hades, right next to Hades. And then Mercury and the Sun are conjunct I guess there's 2 Vulcas here, but this would be Vulcan. And Vulcan was a planet that was discovered in the early 19th century or 20th century. And it was claimed to be a planet that was discovered, and then later it was retracted, I think, the idea that it was a planet. And the Waldemoth is one of the versions of the Black Moon Lilith. And then I think I put Lilith in here too, but there it is. It's at 22 Gemini. So it's close to Mars. Venus is slowly approaching Orcus, which is a dark figure of the underworld. And then the moon is slowly approaching Requiem, which is death on a large level. And it doesn't have to be a literal death. It could be a death of an old world vision. And Poseidon is here. I did Poseidon. And none of these other asteroids are anywhere near anything of great effect. But at this point too, Pisces, the North Node, is in Pisces at 0 degrees, which is really interesting. It's at a 0 point.
Oh, yeah.
Which means it's Virgo South Node at 0 point as well. So, anything else to say about this chart? I don't think we have too much to say. I mean, I'm going to show the
No, I love that other image. That other image is powerful.
Yeah, I'm going to show. So we have an image that we created just before we got on that exhausted us, so that we took a break from the video. Because it can't spell, you know what I mean? It's like we need more data centers so AI can spell correctly.
Oh, don't say that. Jeez.
That's horrible.
Ay, ay, ay.
Okay, so July's Maelstrom, and of course it wrote it twice. So you guys can see this here. This is just a nice spiral. Well, nice, but it's just a colorful spiral image of all the planets involved. Saturn's in Aries, Uranus is in Gemini, Pluto's in Aquarius, Neptune's in Aries. Uranus again is in Gemini because apparently it needs to set it up twice, even though I asked it to only create 1 Uranus. But that's okay, did the best it could, right? So this is the image here. Let me move over here. Now this was taken, we made this summary from the Barbault's summary that we created from the article. And so this is really what it is. It's like all these outer planets locked at 4 degrees. That's Jupiter, Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus. That's really intense. That 4 degrees is really interesting to look at in terms of meaning. You know what I mean? As far as numerology, 4 is building something, energy to build. And it says global relaunch window, major societal reorganization, human choice required. And then it says something about a shift, offset of the solar system, central mass, driving the middle.
So what it is that there's a pull. And what's interesting, it's all those outer planets, and then you've got Jupiter, which you can fit, I don't know, 1,000, 1,400, whatever, Earths inside Jupiter. So there's this strong pull. And it's called the Berry Center. It's an actual scientific term that NASA uses, apparently. And so, see, the sun is in the middle in this image. Even though the sun is small, it's really, very, very large. but it's being pulled off of its center. The sun is apparently through this configuration.
Wow. There's a whole bunch of layers to this. If one goes in a certain magical direction, there's the idea that many of the planets have been possessed and taken over. There's the phrase drawing down the moon, and it's the idea of the planets being drawn down and their spirits being taken out. Because each planet has a spirit, that inhabits it. It's a part of our game life structure. Whereas spirits, we can inhabit physical bodies as humans, but we can also embody planetary bodies. So there are spirits that embody each planet. And so that too is a fascinating idea, but it's the idea that these spirits have been replaced too, and this comes from certain magical books that have come out in the recent 10, 20 years, that the planetary energies have been degraded. And because of this magic that's been done on them. And, just in summary, or in general summary of this Maelstrom, as we've renamed it here, it's hard to assess or qualify the nature of this impact because we're still creating it right now.
Hmm.
Now, there are other factions that have attempted to put things into work so that they're like in place, they're ready to be turned on, and they're already set up as structures that they know may be ignited by this transit. And we know what that is. I mean, it's the surrounding terraforming tech that they've created in the last 5, 6 years, ever since 2020, the beginning of that experiment, right, to connect humanity to radiate humanity through the terraforming of Earth. So that's one plan that can be turned on at this time. The other plan, of course, is our plan as humans and the human heart being turned on. The heart vortex, because the heart is a vortex. And that's being turned on because Jupiter's in Leo. And
Yeah.
Jupiter's connecting to Uranus. And Uranus stands for the rebellion of man, of humanity. It's the Prometheus, as it was called by one of the astrologers early on. And there's something about that. There's something about the fire of the heart, of the human heart, having this opportunity to be present and observe everything that's attempting to transpire. And it's interesting in this image that we have Jupiter and Leo separate from all this. In this image that's separating Jupiter, as if to say Jupiter has its own vision. And in human design, Jupiter is considered as a really great benefic. I mean, in fact, in human design, it's said that 60% of the neutrinos that condition humanity in the earth come from the sun, and that 20% come from Jupiter,
Hmm.
and that the rest come from the other planets.
Interesting.
As if to say the most impact does come from the sun and Jupiter.
So, and for people that don't know what the neutrinos are, that's packets of information, packets of light, right?
That come from the stars, that come from
Yeah. Yeah. So it's
supernovas, and yeah.
right.
Great
So,
stuff.
I really do like would you be willing to show that other image too, for us to walk through that image? Because that image is one that includes the whole journey of 2020, February 20th, and then now where we're at going forward.
What image?
The image that I sent you, that we first started with.
Was it a variation of this? Oh, the first one you sent me.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, let
Because
me see.
I'd like to look at that and kind of get a little dialogue on that. But before we get out of this one, look at the five-pointed star that's created.
Yeah, I
Now
was gonna say, did
yeah,
notice that.
and the five-pointed star is the human body. Um, so we really are going through an evolutionary process. And it's so funny because I was listening to something on YouTube the other day, and it's like, oh yeah, we're in this phase of, you know, we're all talking about how we're in this big change, and and then I just thought, okay, so maybe actually, I'm always doing the think opposite rule. Whatever the collective says, just think opposite. And there was this can't even bring words to it, but we're always in change. We're always in motion. We're always in flux. We're always dynamic and forces coming on us and through us and about us. And, so it was almost like, okay, okay, okay. And just be here now and enjoy the glorious ride that you're in. And, that's kind of where I'm at right now too. It is just, yeah, we're in change, but we're always in change, you know?
I'm gonna stop share so I can share that other video. I think that's
Okay.
beautifully said. I think that's all that needs to be said in a way because as long as we're doing our best to be embodied and
Yes.
being to the
Yeah. And
highest
not checking
frequency we
out,
can,
not checking out.
or just being conscious when we check out and come back in, 'cause
Yeah.
we can't, a lot of us can't help checking out right now because if you have significant planets, in Aries or Aquarius, or Leo, I mean, you're going to be checking out because the impact of Neptune and Uranus, and those planets like passing through your consciousness, you're going to be here, you're going to be there. You know what I mean? Like it's powerful, but it's impacting us. I mean, Mario, I did a video with Mario the other day, and he was saying that I guess it was during the last new moon. He said that that new moon in Gemini, with Uranus there, he said that there was incidents that occurred of people just like leaving their bodies. Like I guess this woman was doing some kind of jump, and it was like what do you call it when you have a jump but you're hooked onto something? So like you can
A bungee jump,
something like that, a bungee jump,
yeah.
and the guys who were supposed to connect her backpack to it, they forgot to do it,
Oh,
and she basically jumped thousands and thousands of feet to her death. A 21-year-old. I think this happened in South America or something, he was saying. So think about it. Aries, Neptune and Aries, Saturn and Aries, meaning to say people that are active doing sports, they need to be careful and conscious because that
mm.
unconscious foggy energy of Neptune will come in and they'll just leave their body for a moment. Or someone around will leave their body and forget to do something, that could be detrimental to their life. So these outer planets are making it difficult for some of us to be here, and so we're there all of a sudden, then we come back, in and out of the body. But that's the dance of humanity anyway. We're amphibious beings. We've always been that way. We're spirits that are here and not here. We're part of two realms. Okay, so let me find the video real quick, and then you can wax on that or share something else in the meantime.
Yeah, I kind of trip on where is that other place in space, you know? What is beyond this physical experience without getting into, you know, completely checking out. Like I don't feel like I have all these, I mean, I feel like I'm very intuitive, but I can't remote view or uh, because I think what it is that I'm supposed to be here in this physical experience. I'm not supposed to because you can get really hooty guru and check out, you know? And so I feel like if I had more, I'm very intuitive and I get intuitive hits when I do astrology readings, but I don't have, like visions, you know, and I think it's for me to keep me physically here in this physical experience because I am very spiritual, you know?
I mean, it's I don't it's different for everyone. It'll be
Yeah,
relative to your
for
own
sure.
personal talents and abilities, but because these planets are happening in a range of 12 different houses for people. So if it's happening in your 12th house, then your unconscious is being activated. You're in these realms. and bringing more conscious awareness to that is important. Same if you have these planets in your eighth house. And so it's just relative. So it comes back to like we keep to, right? Which is it's still your Aries vortex. It's still your vision. What are you doing with your Aries vortex? That's what it comes down to. Does it relate with the destiny of humanity? Of course. But we only can be a part, I mean, we can only be in being with that which we can control in our own lives. And
So
so
wait, where's your Aries vortex?
mine's in the 12.
Oh my Lord. You're not in control then at all. You've got to let go, you
Oh,
know?
yeah, totally, totally, right.
Yeah.
Totally, completely. And I'm doing practices for that. I mean, I've been engaged in, the personal apprenticeship I'm doing for like 8, 9 months now. And I just, do the process and I know or I don't know, what happens. you know, I do my best to note it, to journal, what's occurring, what I'm going through.
Yeah,
But
and trusting in the process and trusting that you're being held, you know?
right, right, right. Okay, so here's the
Um,
image.
yeah, and so what I want to say kind of about this image, can I just jump in some of the things that I
No, it's better.
really liked? First of all, that mesh, that and the, of the lines going up and down and up and down and through the basket. And so you've got the left, which is 2020, you got the right, which is 2026 now and going forward. And we did, like you said, you and I, we really didn't want to use the word the basket because that Jupiter isn't exactly on top and opposing that collective transpersonal planet, what I call the arrow of evolution, pushing evolutionary processes. Um, but we've got the before and after. So we've got that evolutionary conjunction at 4 degrees, and that's that center point here in this image. But if you look over to the left, it shows the old order. It shows July 2026, and then it shows new civilization. And so it's kind of like we're going through this evolutionary push with these with all of them at the four degree point, and where they're going to be, that is July 7th through July 31st. So I don't know, I liked this image just because we did have 2020 and it was a collective experience for all of us on the planet, the very first one where we all were brought together, having, and everyone experienced 2020 in a very different way, but we were all being crunched into that experience. And now, then we had like you said, the Aries vortex, which is now. So, the Aries vortex also is Neptune and Saturn. And so it's like letting go and dissolving all of the old belief systems and starting something new that's going to be you, which is Aries, but for the collective, for the greater good, Neptune. And then, past that is then this evolutionary push. And it's really up to us to create a better world. It's not going to be handed to us on a silver platter, you know. We have to create it. We have to
It looks like there's a secondary configuration that'll be similar that will have Ceres in it, the mother asteroid, the nurturing asteroid of Ceres, and that'll be in June of 2027. So, as you say that, this is just, and we've already said this, that this is a process. It's a multi-year shift, threshold, and maelstrom of change and transformation.
Mhm.
So it's not just the most impactful events of this year are the Aries Vortex, February 17th, and this July Maelstrom on July 19th. But this will move into next year, and another significant amplification point will be on sometime in June of 2027. Now, there are many dates, and well, not many, but there are several dates of high importance in 2027 as we progress, because the Aries Vortex continues, and so does the impact of all these trines and sextiles, as you're suggesting here, right? Which is that it's a process, and we only kind of know what's happening through like this progressive awareness, because the effect of this playground effect that's occurring on July 19th, in other words, things can be turned online that humanity might not be in agreement with. And so, as you kind of are noting, we also, as we have one eye looking within for our own Aries Vortex vision, we have one eye peering without and seeing what the larger collective vision of humanity is that we're creating, and taking responsibility for our own input by how we direct our energy in what we're willing to support and not support. And it does seem there's some form of strange web of control within, certain meters, certain miles underground, and certain miles above us. There's always been this attempt to create this prison fence of frequency around us. And, the question also is, do we want that? Is that
Well,
what?
that the beauty of that 0 point that you call it, the Aries vortex, Neptune, Saturn. I mean, look at the very bottom here, down. It says technology and spirituality, bottom right,
Yeah.
diverse global communities. So, Aries is a warrior. Aries is a survivor. So Aries at 0 point Aries is the individual expression in the greater of humanity. So it's like instead of, the global order, the powers that be, suppressing us, right? Controlling us, we have at least a surviving chance, because that's what Aries is the warrior. That we're diversifying, that we're decentralizing, that we're like creating more local communities, and really becoming sovereign. It's a process of, which is kind of it's a kind of an oxymoron or a paradox. Here we all order from Amazon, and yet there's this need for us to get away from, quote unquote, the man, get away from, free ourselves from our dependence upon the various systems, the medical system that isn't about health, or, how are we going to get it free from the financial system? So it's a tug and a pull of, we still need each other. We still are, we are the system. We are part of that system.
I mean, the separation's inevitable, because many of us are not going to want to be a part of this, because that playground's going to turn into, 15-minute city is what it appears. And with this kind of turning on through sextiles and trines, there's no fight here. There's no fight in these aspects. It's more complacent. It's more like, okay, we're just flowing into the next thing. It's more complacency and almost escapism, because these sextiles and trines are just flowing in. So I think it depends, one way of looking at it is, depends on who's holding these energetic, who's holding the grammar for the verbs that'll be activated in these planetary configurations. In other words, is humanity holding strong to, has it created a strong enough vision for Aries, the warrior, for Neptune in Aries to enact that warrior vision, that new vision, that pioneering individualist vision of humanity? I would say yes, because we also have, as human design notes, the right angle cross of planning coming to an end on February 14th of next year, 2027, and initiating the right angle cross of the sleeping phoenix, which is all about individualism.
Wow.
And then we have, of course, two outer planets in Aries. So not just the lone warrior of Saturn, which will guide our way, but also Neptune and Aries creating the new vision for humanity. Now this is all connected, so it's like, again, it's whose vision? Is it the vision of a panopticon, controlled, surveilled, digital, technological, systemic environment for humanity? Or is it Saturn Aries, the destruction of that, or Pluto and Aquarius, the destruction of that technology? Because it is Pluto and Aquarius, but Pluto and Aquarius can be seen in two ways. Aquarius stands for what's new, what's technically vibrant, but it also stands for man. The symbol is the water bearer, right? So is it the destruction of the lone eccentric, right? The lone hermit, the wizard. So there's different ways to interpret, Uranus and Gemini. That's the human mind being, exploded, right? I mean, that's rational awareness being completely destroyed and a new type of lateral awareness really being born or highlighted or expanded upon. And that sounds positive because that does relate to also the transmutation of gate 55 through the human design lens, which turns on the solar plexus as an awareness center, shifting the focus and the strength of the human mind to emotional awareness. So there are processes occurring that are supporting a positive vision for humans awakening on different levels of frequency and overcoming the perhaps possible negative slant or shadow that these trines and sextiles with these outer planets can represent. So from now until February 14th of next year, we're going to see this. We're going to see how this develops. We're going to observe, right? We're going to have some...
It's interesting that it's on Valentine's Day.
I know. It is very interesting. But
Well, are you hopeful in general? I mean, I think the jury's still out, right? It's like, I think what we have to
I'm
count
very
on is
hopeful. I think
what?
I'm very hopeful, but I'm also very knowing because I know that there's a desperation energy happening and occurring. The propaganda, the rush to create all this technological terrors, as Darth Vader would say from Star Wars, has been occurring since 2020. There's an anxiety attached to that, as if it's not happening fast enough, as if they're in a race to complete something by a certain date. I feel like there are certain metaphysical occurrences that will happen to uplift humanity and uplift where we are and how we're living. And I feel like there are forces that are terrified and trying to enact some kind of control grid before that occurs. And I don't think they have a chance. But I also feel like before it opens up, it's going to get darker. The night will get darker before the morning arises.
Right.
For the dawn of a new day kind of awakens us. So I do see this as a narrative structure unfolding in space and time, with moments where we will, especially with Uranus and Gemini, achieve some precognitive awareness of an understanding that amplifies our abilities to perceive in simultaneous time, in absence of temporal and spatial coordinates and control grids. Because there's something here about humanity being able to transcend the normal patterns. Because like the Dead Can Dance song says, one of my favorite Dead Can Dance songs. Let's see if I can remember it in the middle of this video. Remember its title. I don't think it's Ulysses. No, it's not Ulysses. It's another song. But it says something about our chaos as humans, our chaos in motion. And before that, it talks about us being trapped in the prison of time, in the ordinance of time. Because essentially what it is to be human, it is to have an experience in time. So there's something about our need as amphibious beings to explore and be able to also get outside of time.
Okay, so I want to say, I just got an intuitive hit on this. So this is basically our training wheels. Like Saturn and Neptune were in conjunction, and when this transpersonal, the transpersonal planets are exactly at 4 degrees, around July 19th. Saturn is 10 degrees away and just saying, okay, I'm giving you guys some training wheels, to transcend time and space. You get to go out there to this greater transpersonal expanded awareness, but I'm right there by your side. I'm a little bit away from the whole gig. It literally, like the arrow, there's Neptune and Saturn's over here holding space. You get what I'm talking
Oh
about?
yeah, no, that's brilliant. It's like Saturn's training us how to ride the bicycle outside of time and space because
Right.
Neptune's right there, creating that, destroying that boundary between time and space. That's beautiful.
And then this is, because we're caught in this reincarnation grid inside the solar system. And so that's the entrapment that we are being given the opportunity to free ourselves from.
And that is the underworld. That's what Pluto is. Pluto represents the underworld where we go when we die and where we transmute and the body gets buried and becomes earth again and we transmute and we go into another body and then we come back in through the underworld to earth. And all these planetary configurations are involved because, I don't know, maybe a new process by which we come into a body or decide or how we as spirits, how we deal, how we collaborate with that process of life and death. And there was a lot of talk in recent years. I think Oracle Girl was on this that there is no death realm right now. That everything is here. Everything is here for this great change and transformation, whatever it is. So it's just so many ideas here, because so many processes that create and negotiate human consciousness are all working together. I don't think we really know what it's all creating. I think you and I speculating this, by literally interpreting some of these planetary configurations is real powerful. The Saturn training wheel analogy is great because it's like Saturn's leading us along slowly, but it's like Saturn is the boundary of third density reality, is like bringing us to this, other realm. It's bringing
This
us
other
to
awareness, yeah, this higher realm, this expanded knowing, you know?
and so we want to make sure that we're not being led into the wrong place, right? The false expansion. Because there's so much propaganda on this false expansion. Oh, humans are ascending. Oh, our faculties are turning on. This is turning on, and we're becoming trans-dimensional beings, or and that's kind of too, I don't know, for me, that's too over speculative. Like, I don't know that there's anything wrong with being in a body. We're in bodies. That's fine. We don't need to ascend to some, I don't know, some very, I don't know, you know what I mean? Some
No,
fantasy
I do know what you mean
realm.
because it's like, well, when I'm hearing all of that stuff, I'm like, well, I'm not getting those experiences. I'm just here in my physical body,
Yeah, yeah, right, right, right.
What's wrong with me,
Like, am I not schizoid enough? Have I not taken enough? Whatever it is. So
So yeah, I mean, what I'm getting over and over again, especially in this moment right now, is just learning how to be here now. Just like not trying to be somewhere else or not trying to ascend or not trying to check out, but really just saying I'm in this experience and it's incredible. And that's what I do sometimes. I haven't done it lately, but it really helps when you get discouraged or when you get upset, or mainly like depressed, like just not feeling motivated and unexcited about life, is when you just go to the present moment and just be like, it's really actually a miracle to be in the human experience. If you can just put yourself back into that, just the micro moment of now, take a mini self-acid trip, without acid, you know?
I mean, it's on some level just relaxing into beingness.
Yes,
Start to feel
yes.
the impact of energy as it goes up and down your spine. I mean, energy is always two ways. We always have two directions. One in which to ground, into the earth, into the underworld, which is a part of who we are, and also up to the skies, to the heavens as well, to have both connections at once. You know, I was just talking about this on my Discord with others. We were talking about the importance of, you know, being in connection with both the higher and the lower. Because that's what it is to be in a human body. That's what it is to ground and be embodied in a human body, is to connect with the deep riches and crystals and, you know, and source of what it is to be in the earth, or rooted into the earth. But also to have the golden energy streams from the heavens as well. I mean, I learned this in my early 20s in my first psychic school. You know, you connect both with both, always. You connect both. You know, because we're amphibious beings of two directions, of, you know, of two worlds. We can
What's your nodal
parts of the body.
axis?
What's that?
What's your nodal axis?
Scorpio and Taurus.
Taurus. Okay. Yeah. You know, because that's what brought it for me. I'm Pisces, Pisces Virgo.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're going through yours right now. But you know, the axis is changing as well right now. It's going to change in a month to Leo and Aquarius, and it'll be North Node in Aquarius. So that Pluto energy will be coming in, because North Node is an opening for energy to just come in full. And South Node is where energy leaves. So Pluto will be at the North Node, and at the South Node, Jupiter will be there soon.
Yeah. And so that's July 26th when the nodes shift.
And that's October, I think, when Jupiter will conjunct the South Node.
Wow.
Pluto will conjunct the North Node fairly soon because it's in such an early degree. But
That's going to be another thing we should be talking about, you know, in another video when Pluto's conjuncting it'll
yeah,
be the,
that'll be for the fall. That can be for the next video when we return to our Venus
yeah.
Venus journey into the underworld, the Persephone kind of return to the underworld that we talked about in our last video, that we hinted at, that we were going to discuss. There's definitely a lot in November and October with that Mercury retrograde and that Venus retrograde and the South Node and North Node, especially with the South Node. I mean, the US is also going through a nodal return. Its North Node is in Aquarius and its South Node is in Leo, if I'm
At
remembering.
what degree?
It could be in reverse. I have to remember it. It could be in the degree, I think, is 6 degrees. I'll have to double check. We have to save that for another video. I don't remember.
Yeah.
So I think that's it, unless we want to add anything else on
No, this has been great. Love the images. We had a lot of fun before we even got on.
a lot of work.
Um, hope you found this informative, everyone. And
And connect to Anna on her channel. I'll list her channel when I release this video on my channel, and then you can connect it to my channel, Plutonic Planes, Anna, so that both your people can watch it and my people can watch it. And
yeah. And so now is the time for us to step into our greater awareness, you know, and just don't make a big deal out of it. Just be as present as you possibly can, you know, just stepping through life.
yeah, stepping through the day to day and being as present as you can in your body,
Yeah.
and not so taken by the movie, by the show. I mean, watch the
E-
show, but have your separation. You know, the show's out here. Don't let it be here. Don't absorb it.
Exactly. Good point.
Absorb it.
Really good
Observe it.
point.
Create some distance, you know.
Yes.
Create a screen in your consciousness with which to watch it from. You know, some feet of separation. You know, you can do that energetically, visually.
Love
All right.
that.
Thanks for everyone watching, and we'll see you guys in the next vid. Let us know. Please comment below. That's what helps these videos get seen. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
All right. Take good care.